I'm going to crack this thing open.
You know how like advent calendars for kids, those chocolate?
Yeah. We got one.
I'm like that with pumpkin pie.
No, it's my first Marvel movie. Everyone's like, oh my God, you got to see a Marvel movie in theaters. So I'm like, okay, I'll go see Spider-Man.
Maybe they should have been in there because I have some opinions on why Georgia is in the playoffs. They should not be in the playoffs.
Oh my God.
Why should
Not
they?
you.
They just lost.
Welcome to the Beer and Sports Podcast. We are part of the Fins Talk Sports Network at Fins Talk Network, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We are at Mugs and Balls on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure to like and subscribe, both us and the network, to stay up to date to catch every episode of us. I don't know what I just did there.
I don't like that. That was awful. That was worse than that was bad. Wow. All right, moving on.
And you can catch all the great shows in the network. I'm Josh Wingate 302 on Twitter. Oh wow, it actually worked that time. Is Josh Kimmel OUS?
Baby. Sorry, I just wanted to do that. I miss Adam Cole and I miss doing the baby. You don't know what that is.
No,
what's going on, Josh?
Not much. How have you been?
You know, it's been hot here lately. It's December. I was just thinking today. Seriously. I was just at Publix today to some
Pub
random
sub, baby.
Did not get a pub sub. They're overrated. They're good, but when they're every day, it's not special.
They are far from being overrated.
So I'm walking around. I'm wearing literally this and some shorts and some flip flops, and everyone's got the peppermint mocha. Yeah, everyone's wearing the peppermint mocha, and we got the Christmas tree up. And I'm watching every single night this month, December coming up. I'm watching a Christmas movie with the family. Last night was Polar Express. And I'm like,
was that on TV or is that
no,
something you just put on?
It was
TV?
on HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, and I'm thinking, God, it's fucking hot and it's almost December. What a time to be alive. Like I'm wearing no sleeves, it's fucking awesome, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It is like 30 some degrees. Actually, right now it is 39 degrees out. So it's a little chilly outside. But no, other than the life experience I've had in the past couple of days, well, over a week, I'm doing great.
Good.
Are you drinking today? Like
I am. Look.
What
do
you got?
Look at this.
What is
White
Claw?
Look at this. I'm staying fit. I'm staying healthy. 100 calories.
I had that. I had a seltzer, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not a little bitch. So I got my Dogfish Head, Blue Head Pilsner.
You know,
like a good man of the people does.
Awful. You know, holidays just happened. We just, talked about Thanksgiving and all these fun things that just happened. I bought a case of White Claw, and then my mother-in-law brought some Nooners. High Noons, my favorite. So I crushed the Nooners. Now I'm stuck with a shitload of White Claws in my fridge. And I'm like, well, everyone drank the Nooners because they're better quality. So now I got to drink these damn White Claws. They're not bad. Look. They
have like a metallic-y flavor at the end of them.
They do, but they're nice. I get the mango, refreshing. I just like a good White Claw, good seltzer once in a while. Look, I am a little bitch. I understand it. Sorry for the language. It is what it is. This is what you get from me, baby. All right, let's get into some sports. What are we doing?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, one of the biggest things that stood out to me over the weekend was just the Sean Taylor. I call it a debacle. I don't know what you call it, but it is one of the worst things I have ever seen to honor a man that is literally your team. Like, he has been the symbol of that team since he passed away, honestly. He's probably the biggest player in the history of the Ravens. I almost messed up there. The Commanders.
Don't say that word, man. Don't get us Hey, we just joined the network. We don't want to get kicked off right away. No, I didn't see it live, and I heard everyone talk about it, and you're like, hey, we got to talk about this. I really don't get into things like this because it's just, to me, it's just whatever. We're moving on. Yeah. But then I looked at the articles, and I saw the video, and I'm like, so they unveiled it, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now, is this like an appetizer? Like, when's the real thing coming?
Yeah.
And like, that was the end of the video. And I'm thinking, okay, are they just modeling this? Is there a statue going to be here? Are they just showing you where it's going to be? And then I'm like, well, I'm looking. I'm like, wait a minute, this is it.
Yeah, it's
This
awful.
is I'm at Target, and I'm looking at
Exactly.
I'm, like you just put a mannequin with a jersey on that I can go buy myself in
I
the
got a
middle.
text
I
message.
don't get it. I just don't get it.
I got a text message that night from a buddy, and he said they couldn't even give Sean Taylor a statue, but Philadelphia gave Nick Foles one.
They gave a fictional character a statue.
They
Philadelphia,
gave who?
a fictional character.
Oh
Rocky.
yeah. Oh, but yeah, but you couldn't like. I don't. I. It can't be incorrect here that Sean Taylor is the biggest player in the fans' eyes in the history of Washington. You can't name a player bigger in the fans' eyes or anything bigger than Sean Taylor. He is the probably the most sold jersey in the history of Washington. He is the guy. It would be like unveiling a Emmitt Smith jersey or an Emmitt Smith statue and doing that. Like no.
What
Or
were you expecting?
Dan Marino. Like you're not doing that to Dan Marino.
No. What were you expecting? Did you expect some big thing, or did you expect this? Because to me, when I hear statue, Darryl Green, I was gonna bring him up because I was gonna bring up the old dude that played till he's like 50 years old, but he doesn't get credit for it, and that's Darryl Green. But yes, did you expect some like statue like at Tampa Bay at Amalie Arena? We got Phil Esposito one. It looks awesome, you know.
I think you do a
But
statue.
you thought a statue, right? Like a
Yeah.
statue.
Yeah.
But we got a mannequin with
Not
a jersey
even a
on.
mannequin. Not even a
Not
mannequin.
even-
You got wires.
You got wires with a jersey, and,
Yeah.
and the best part, my favorite part about this entire thing, and I don't want to make a joke of this, obviously, but I hear it on the like I heard somewhere on the radio, like I don't know who, I don't know where, I don't know a source. They're like, he's got a Nike jersey on, Adidas pants, or whatever. I'm like, people are complaining that the damn logos don't match up.
This is the way to do it right. This is the way to do it right. You either
That's-
have a statue or you retire his number and put his jersey up there. But you don't do what you did. That's so disrespectful to Sean Taylor, who was a great player in the league, and the fans love him.
Yeah.
You don't do that. And it's just another step in the wrong direction of Dan Snyder and that entire organization. And I just can't wait until he's gone. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I can't wait till he's gone.
I mean, at this point, do you think they fix it? Do you think they do anything about it, or do you just go, well,
They're not going to fix it.
Our job's
They're not
done.
fixing anything. They're done. It's-
our job's
it
done?
won't be
Or do you
fixed.
think-
It will not be fixed until another person comes in and takes over
that-
the organization.
Was that like a game worn jersey? Was there anything special about? Seriously, I want to know. Like, was there anything special?
I don't think so.
Was there? Because at this point, why even do it?
It's awful.
Why even do it? Why?
So disrespectful. When you see Clinton Portis there, watching it be unveiled, and he was taking pictures and everything, but he had to be so disappointed and felt so disrespected for Sean Taylor.
He's my favorite commander of all time, by the way. Clinton Portis. He's probably my favorite Washington player
Denver
of all
Bronco.
time. Yeah, I mean Denver, the U, whatever it may be. He was my favorite player to at least play for that franchise that I could remember. But yeah.
I did see the comments here. Darryl Green, Art Monk, yeah, great players, but in the fans' eyes, it has to be Sean Taylor as the greatest player of all time. He didn't play long, but he's just like the fan favorite of the entire franchise.
I agree that he's probably the fan favorite, but I don't think he's the most impactful or best player from that franchise. I do think he's probably a fan
But
favorite.
for what I was trying to say, he's the fan favorite of that organization.
Same
And
thing with like in Arizona, Pat Tillman's probably like their fan favorite or one of their favorites, but he's not the most. Maybe he is.
Larry Fitz.
Yeah, Fitzgerald. Yeah, what am I thinking? Maybe he is. Yeah, Fitzgerald's definitely the good of that franchise. But do you want to get into some college football? I know you're licking your chops. You're ready for it. I texted you like on a random Friday night. I said, some 4-6 team beat some 6-6 team. They're celebrating
Yeah.
like they won the national
And I
title.
just
Big
ignored
fucking
your
deal.
text message.
You ignored me. You just ignored me. It's like they're fighting for a plastic trophy. That's more disrespectful than anything. Let's get into the conference title games. I know you want to talk about those.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the rankings because they just came out today.
I got the alert
Um,
on the ESPN
yeah.
app.
So right now we have Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC in the playoffs. Um, so we got 3 12-0 teams, undefeated teams, and we got USC in the fourth spot at 11-1. From there on, we got Ohio State at 11-1 at number 5. Number 6, we have Alabama 10-2. Number 7 is Tennessee 10-2. Number 8 is Penn State 10-2. We got Clemson 10-2, and then we have Kansas State 9-3. So from there, what stands out to you? What doesn't? And
What stands out to me is from not a passionate college football fan like yourself, and like probably most of the nation. Saturdays are for the family for me, but I do try to check in on a couple games if there's some action going on during the week. But
like that
what
Ohio
stands out
State
to
Michigan
me,
game.
Ohio State, Michigan, they played. Did they play?
Yeah, last Saturday.
I'm kidding. I kid.
Oh.
Actually, the most college football I watched was this week because it brings me back. Like Thanksgiving week, there's all these rivalries going on. UF versus Florida State on Black Friday. That was a big thing down here. I watched a little bit of that. But what stands out to me is I didn't know TCU was undefeated. That's how little I know about college football, and I'm going to be totally transparent with you guys. I don't know anything about that organization, but it's good to see USC 11-1 and back like in the hunt. I don't know if they were
Yeah.
that's what stands out to me. I like college football when USC is good or when West Coast teams are good because I feel like it's too SEC country, too Big Ten country, and I like to see more variety because that's why
Not SEC country this year, that's for sure.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't like college football because it's too of the same thing. I don't like the same thing over and over and over, and that's what college football is to me.
Yeah, and definitely recently because Alabama's been taken over, but before, I mean, it was not even. It was more so like the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12. They were always the big ones. But I'll talk about the games that we have going on this week coming up this Friday and Saturday. Pac-12 championship. We have Friday. Utah playing USC. That's probably in my eyes the biggest game of the week. That's going to have the most say over what can happen in the playoffs. If USC wins, they can cement themselves in the playoff. But if they lose, that could be the one spot, or it's definitely going to probably be the one spot that a team takes over. Big 12 championship, you have Kansas State, TCU. Kansas State's number 10 in the country. TCU's number 3, obviously. Then we have the SEC championship with LSU and Georgia. Go Dogs. And then the Big Ten championship, Purdue versus Michigan. And then the ACC championship Saturday as well. Clemson versus North Carolina, the most meaningless game.
Do you think it's the most
week.
meaningless game? I think the most meaningless game is Georgia LSU because, and I'll tell you this, and I'm going to say this right now, and you heard it in our opening. If Georgia wins, they're in. No fucking big deal. Who cares, right? If Georgia loses, they're still in. Who gives a fuck? Big deal, right?
Yeah.
That's the most meaningless game to me because no matter what
ACC
the
is the
outcome
most meaningless because it has nothing to do with the playoffs.
You're right. It has
Seeding or
nothing.
anything.
It has nothing to do with the playoffs. That's totally fine. But at least one team's going to win an ACC title, a championship, like something like that. Whereas in the SEC championship game, LSU wins the championship. Big fucking
They win
deal.
the
Georgia
SEC championship.
But who gives a fuck? Georgia, you didn't do anything because Georgia's still going to the tournament.
Yeah.
So that game to me means literally nothing. Whereas like there's literally no stakes. Georgia's like, whatever.
I mean, it's still like LSU after what 3-4 years could be back SEC champions.
That could be. That's huge. Like that. I don't want to say like
Yeah.
that's meaningless because I just said the ACC title game is more important. To me. Not more important, but at least these two teams are fighting for something. Where Georgia's like, if we win,
Seeding.
cool. We're 13-0, seeding, whatever. But they just know, just like last year when in the opening I said that, they can lose and still win the title game, which is bullshit because to me, this right here is a tournament. If you lose, you should be out. Sorry.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think the conference championship should 100% matter. If you don't win a conference championship, you shouldn't automatically have a bid into the like Georgia. If they lose, they shouldn't. They should drop dramatically, and LSU should jump dramatically. But at this point, Georgia doesn't care if they win or lose.
And that was
So
my argument last year,
yeah.
and you totally disagreed with me. I'm glad you finally came on the right side of that because
No,
I said
you said no.
Th-
I do agree, but with how it is, Georgia 100% deserved to be in the playoffs last year or the year before. It was last year.
but you're saying if they lose this game, they deserve to get kicked out.
No, I think they should be not how it is. I think
Ah.
it should be that way. I think there should be more emphasis on the championship game.
You're right because, like you said just now, this Clemson North Carolina game, it's meaningless to
Yep.
the majority of the people out there, and it's probably going to be.
And we're not realigning. We're not realigning these champion or these conferences for nothing, right? Like with this realignment, there should be something to come from that. Correct?
I totally agree with you. Yes,
All
I'm
right.
correct.
So let's talk about this before we move on. Who do you think are in the playoffs?
Who do I think are in the playoffs?
Like at the end, after this week, who do you think is going to be in the playoff?
John, I mean, I think USC falls because I want it so bad. I want
There's always
USC
one
in.
team that falls.
I
this
know,
week.
and I think USC is going to be the one, unfortunately, because I really want them to be in it. Because honestly, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I don't watch college football at all. Like to me, it's boring. But if USC's in there, it's something new and it's something I'm gonna watch. I really am.
Yeah.
Is there any way Tennessee gets in? Because that'd be fun to watch as well. I'm more worried. I'm not worried. I'm more into teams that can jump in. I don't want to see Georgia, Michigan. I'm just
Well,
burnt
that's the
out.
thing. Like the only teams that can really jump in would be OSU, and can Alabama jump in?
See, I don't care about that. I just don't care. I don't want those.
I
teams
care.
in.
I care for the fact that Alabama 100% does not deserve to be in the playoffs this year over USC.
Okay, so Michigan just beat Ohio State. Do we need to see that again? That's what I'm saying. Just the committee needs to get together and go, okay, they just lost. Just kind of like how Georgia just lost last year to Alabama. So do we want to see this again? Why do they get a second chance? It doesn't make sense.
Georgia lost to Alabama, I believe, in the SEC championship game. That was they played in the championship game and they lost, and it had no meaning to them. So that was my fact. They played in it. OSU is not playing in a conference championship game. So how are you able to jump up because one team plays an extra game?
Yeah, that stinks. That really does stink. If Georgia, if Michigan loses, Ohio State should not jump them because they just lost to Michigan. If anything, if anyone was going to jump up, Clemson, because they won their, if they beat North Carolina.
They lost to South Carolina last week.
Okay.
So
see, there you go. So I mean, I guess these are the teams. A boring playoff once again. In my opinion, a very boring playoff.
It wouldn't be a boring playoff if you have TCU, USC in there. I don't think so. I think that'd be a fun playoff to watch. You got two new teams. Michigan is trying to build on something. I mean, they were one and done last year, but they also played the national champions.
Here's what I would like to see. Here's how I would like to see it. Ask me another question. How would you like the seedings to go out? Well, Josh, here's how I would like the seedings to pan out. I wouldn't want USC to play Georgia. I wouldn't want that. And I wouldn't want Michigan to play TCU because you're setting yourself up for a Michigan-Georgia game, which would be awesome, but we've seen it before. Yeah. Let's let USC or TCU, let's let them play each other.
Is there any chance that we
final.
Get – well, here's that. Say Purdue – plays Michigan to the end, and it's a tight game, and then TCU just blows out Kansas State. Is there a chance that TCU can jump Michigan in the rankings, in your opinion?
Of course there's a chance, but nothing would change because they would still play each other. They're still the 2-3 seed. True. So it means nothing. The only way these seedings are going to change is if
Georgia loses.
That's the only way, because if Michigan loses, they're only going to fall to 3. And if TCU wins, they're not getting to number 1. They're going to go to number 2. So the 2 and 3 don't matter. The only
Yeah.
thing that could shake this up is if USC loses or Georgia loses. That's the only
It
way
would
this is
be
going to
fun.
get
I
shaken up.
will say it would be fun. I don't want Georgia to lose, but it would be fun to see Georgia lose, drop down to like number 2, number 3, and Michigan jump, USC lose, and Ohio State jump in, and we get a Michigan Ohio State playoff just because it's one of the biggest.
We've
It's
already
one of the
seen it.
biggest rivalries in all
I
of
don't.
sports.
I don't care. You know, it'd be more fun to me. You know, it'd be more fun for me if Michigan jumps up to number 1, and then USC stays at 4, and we get Michigan UFC. I think that'd be a great matchup, and then you get Georgia TCU. Those are
Yeah.
2 fresh matchups that we don't see often,
Yeah.
and those would be fun. That's what the college football playoff should be about. Should be about teams playing teams that they don't normally play each other. Not this, Ohio State and Michigan that's a good money grab. That's a
Yeah.
great promoted. We can promote this like boom. Everyone's gonna watch it. No, we've seen it. We've seen it every year. You know what we don't see? We don't see Michigan USC at high stakes anymore. We just don't see it. And that, to me, will get more eyes on your television because it's something fresh. What do I want? I
Well,
want fresh.
thank you for the great transition because eyes, fresh, money grab. Let's talk about Deshaun Watson. He's about to come back.
Yeah. Man, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm sorry. I'm excited. I'm excited to see Deshaun Watson. He's one of my favorite players, and I know I'm supposed to be the good guy of the show, but come on, Finn's. You guys have Tyreek. He's a dirtbag, but Deshaun Watson's back. I don't see how, and this is one of what we're gonna talk about. How are they gonna accept him
I'm the
becoming?
good guy.
I am the good guy. How the Browns gonna accept Deshaun Watson back as a starting quarterback? He wasn't there. He just started practicing. Yada yada yada. Jacoby Brissett's been fighting for this job. They just beat the Buccaneers in overtime. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. His former, he was backing up Tom Brady at one time in his career. How do you just go, you know what, Jacoby, you did a decent job. You beat the Buccaneers, this huge win at home in a terrible condition, the rain, sloppiness. But hey, thank you for your time. We're going to Deshaun. If you're a player on that team, how would you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't feel good. You're looking at Jacoby Brissett has 2,600 passing yards, throwing 64% completion. Not awful, not bad, not great at all. 12-6. He's 75% touchdowns. If my math is right. Is my math right there?
Look, the numbers don't matter. The numbers honestly do not matter.
Well, it does matter to this point because this is going to be my point. Do you wait to start Deshaun Watson? Do you give him a couple weeks? Because he's not played football in over a year and a half. Do you give him more time to practice and get acclimated? And no,
he's a professional. You're paying him like a professional. There's a reason why this game was set to come back against Houston. There was a reason.
Yeah,
and this is a huge game. This is gonna be all eyes.
I'm not putting my money on him to play well.
I'm not putting my money on him to play not well.
Oh, I think I would put my money on him not to play well over playing well.
Let me tell you this. Going into fantasy football, right? We don't talk about fantasy on the show, but I'm a big fantasy guy. I have a situation where I have Justin Herbert and I've been holding on to Deshaun Watson all year. Now, not because I haven't held him. I just picked him up a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I'm in a situation where I'm going to start Deshaun Watson over Justin Herbert. And the reason is because I think, now this is just fantasy. I think right away, he's a top 12 fantasy quarterback right away. The rushing upside, he's got Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Njoku's playing out of his mind right now. And plus Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb out of the backfield, giving him, relieving some stress. He's never had that. He's never had a great running game. He's never had any of that stuff. So I'm curious to see, and I think he's gonna. And plus, they're playing Houston, and I know, they just got blown. Tua just threw like 299 yards in like the first half or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. And I love Tua. He's great. We don't want to talk about that right now. Why can't Watson go in there with Amari Cooper and with Peoples-Jones and with the joke? Why can't he do that? He can, and he will.
I just think there's probably rust there. You can't say he's a professional. There's all these players that come back quickly, or not quickly, but just come back after not playing for a while, and there's obvious rust there, and
But it's not
he
like
has
he
to
was
shake it
injured.
off.
It's not like he was injured. Here in Tampa,
But
Nikita
a year and a
Kucherov.
half.
Look, here in Tampa, Nikita Kucherov, and this is not the same thing. He missed an entire season. Everyone knows this. Every hockey fan knows. Evan's not here right now, but if he was, he'd be crying about the Lightning screw in the cap. He missed an entire season, came in the playoffs, lights out, best player in the world.
Yeah.
Greatness is always great. Michael Jordan came back, great. Everyone comes back. Andre Agassi. All these players come back. All these athletes come back with missing time, Serena having a baby, whatever it may be. They come back great because they're great players.
Yeah.
That's not that's just something they were born with. And of course, the coaching, everything matters as well. I think he comes in great right away. I don't see a problem with it. I hate the whole rust thing. I hate it. It happens. It happens.
It happens. Yeah.
But
So
it
you have to
happens.
acknowledge it.
It happens to good players.
Acknowledge it.
It happens to good players.
I try to do like a wrestling thing there.
I know.
It's acknowledge me, but
I know. Acknowledge me. But he's, we're not doing shots tonight. I'm not doing it. But I will tell you this.
Oh, I forgot that's what it was.
I will tell you this. I expect big game from Watson. I expect him to get a win, and I expect a lot of people to be mad.
Yeah.
I expect a lot of people, and even his own teammates, because not all 53 men or 52 men want him there. They don't.
No, yeah, 100% not.
So
but if he wins, a lot of things get forgotten.
But if you battle with Jacoby for whatever 12, 11 games, and you guys are in the trenches, and you just, like I said, you just had an amazing comeback victory in overtime against the Buccaneers, against the Tom Brady led Buccaneers. How do you just go, we're going to go to this guy because of the money? That's what it is.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I'm just thinking PR wise, everything of that nature. Do you just give him a little more time to just knock it off?
But what do you mean PR wise? Like everyone's acting like he's the first NFL player, athlete that's done anything wrong. Kobe Bryant. Now, and people don't want to bring this up, but he's been. Let's just say it. He kind of admitted that he raped somebody, and it was all forgotten. And Kobe and Mamba mentality, and everyone loves him. Big Ben, there's been so many players, and there's so many fucking dirtbags out there. But that Joe Mixon punched a woman straight. But what I'm saying is, PR wise, that's what you're saying. Because when he comes back, there was already reports today. I don't know if it was fake or
I'm not
fake,
saying PR wise about that. I'm saying PR wise of you want him to just take off. And if you have any sense that he might have a little rust on him, just let him practice a little longer, get the rust off, and that's
Houston's pretty much a practice squad at this point.
Yeah.
So what? This is the best case scenario for them. They're a loser. They're a loser team this season. They're not going anywhere. Let them play against Houston. Let them play with no stakes. This is his practice.
Yeah.
You're paying him money. Go play.
I'm just thinking, as an organization making a big move like that, you want him just to take off and just look great. No questions, especially his first return. You want people to be talking about how great he was in his return rather than...
That's not going to happen. No matter what he does this year.
It could happen.
He'll be the villain. No matter what he does this year, he's a villain. He's a bad guy. He's scum of the world.
The way America is, 95% of people forgot.
No, you're wrong.
Until today. Or until he comes back, and then they bring it back up. But if he takes off and produces, I'm not saying it's right or the right way it should be, but Americans forget very quickly. They
do forget. They do forget, obviously, because Tiger, the whole situation, everything. Like there's so many scumbags out there.
If he plays well,
you're right. If they play well and he's winning and he's smiling in the press conferences and he's putting on the charm, people will forget. But there will be a small minority of people that will. Minority. There always is, and I'm one of them. I will never forget Joe Mixon straight up punching a woman in the face like nothing happened, and everyone wants to forget about it, right? But I'm the one going, dude, that's a fucking dirtbag that just punched someone, a woman, and walked away. Like it didn't even faze him, but nobody brings it up anymore.
Who's the guy that went to Washington and had a chain and whipped a woman with it?
Like I said, there's so many, but people get caught up on this number of, well, there's 45 women or there's 65 women. My argument is, and I don't want to get into this too much, is
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if there's 1 or 65. A bad act is a bad act. Kobe
Yeah.
did it to 1. How many more did he do it to? Right? Got caught by 1.
Yep.
Big Ben caught like what, once or twice?
Twice, maybe 3
Um,
times.
exactly. I don't know. I'm not a professional, but I know this is not a one-time behavior. This is a thing
Yeah.
that you do if you're that kind of person. And I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I said, no expertise. It's just something I've read, things I've podcasts, all that stuff. He just shit just happened. He's a dirtbag. He's gonna go play football, and I'm kind of excited for it. I'm excited to see him redemption story. You're right. Americans love redemption, and I'm ready to see some redemption.
Definitely. And speaking of redemption, Trevor Lawrence came out and played a good game versus the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. What was your thought on the 2 matchups of the quarterbacks?
So, I think Evan came on a couple weeks ago and talked about Tua and Lamar and what's Lamar done. He's been MVP, has not really progressed much. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, God, he's right. Like, he's great. He's great. And I love Lamar, and I think Lamar's a great athlete. But do I want him as the quarterback of my franchise? And I started thinking, as this game was happening, because this was a phenomenal game, who do I want? Do I want Lawrence, or do I want Lamar as my quarterback? And I'm thinking, I'm like, it's got to be Trevor at this point.
Nope.
I know you're going to say no, which is okay for us to talk about. But the way Trevor, I watched the full game. The way Trevor commanded that last drive, he made 4 phenomenal passes. Those 4 passes that he made on that drive were better than any pass Lamar Jackson has ever made in his career, ever. And Trevor made 4 of them in one drive. He's that kind of player. Now, he doesn't have the legs like Lamar. Hold on. I know it's one game, and you're like, calm down. But Trevor's been more than just one game. He's been good for the past 4 games. He's been good all season. His numbers are almost just as good as Lamar, if not better than Lamar. I think we've seen so you had 2 quarterbacks. One was down here, one was up here, like the media's eyes. And after that game, you're kind of seeing that Lamar come down a little bit and Trevor rise up a little bit, because this isn't the first bad game Lamar. I'm not saying he played bad, but he's not a quarterback that's going to do what Trevor just did. I've never seen Lamar with the ball, with a minute offense or whatever it may be, and just fucking just light it up. I've never seen it happen.
So here's the thing. They were up, I think, was it 19-10 at one point? Might have been. I don't know. Or it could have been 17. I think it was 17-10. And they handed the ball off to Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards fumbled on Jacksonville's side. They went ahead and scored. Went up. And that's where the pivotal part of the game was. Gus Edwards turned the game around by that fumble, allowed Jacksonville back into the game. But then it came to where I think there was 4 minutes left in the game. Lamar Jackson drove them down almost single-handedly and had the touchdown to go ahead to give him Trevor Lawrence that 2-minute drive. So he brought his team back and up. And then that same drive that we remember, the last minute of that, Trevor Lawrence had a sack fumble. And luckily his team got the ball back on that same drive. So, I mean, and he did not look good until that 1 minute mark hit. And then that's when he started driving down the field and score that. And then they luckily went 4-2 and got it. But if they went into overtime, what would we have had?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because we didn't go to overtime, so we didn't have to see it. That's big ball energy right there with Peterson. And as soon as he went for 2, I said, that's the right call. You're a losing team. Go for the win now, and you have the quarterback and you have the momentum on your side to do that.
Yep.
And if we went to overtime, it depends on who gets the ball. Because Lamar right there, his legs were unstoppable. Not his arm, his legs.
He made some pretty good throws on that drive. He made some pretty nice throws to the tight end.
He did make some nice throws to Oliver. I believe it was Oliver. I think Andrews dropped a crucial touchdown in the end zone at one point, but I think Oliver
nearly fumbled.
Yeah, so Lamar, I love Lamar, and it sounds like I'm trashing him, but I think
it wasn't Lamar in that game. Like, yes, you could very easily blame the quarterback,
but I'm talking about
Lamar in that
in
game.
general. If you look at the numbers straight up, if you just look at the numbers straight up, Lamar's got 2,800 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Sunshine over here has 2,600 yards, so 200 yards less, 16 touchdowns, the same amount, 6 interceptions. Turnovers are way less, way down. Fumbles as well. In the last 6 games, Sunshine's got 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 815 yards, throwing the ball at a 78% clip percentage wise. The dude is money right now. He is money. Like, you feel like he's
team. I've said this a couple weeks ago. I think the wide receiver group is more important in today's football than it ever has been. And the Ravens continue to neglect to give him weapons on the outside.
Imagine if they had a receiver like Hollywood Brown. Seriously, imagine if they had a receiver like Hollywood Brown.
Yeah. Imagine that. But they traded him.
It'd be pretty cool if they had a receiver like Hollywood Brown. But instead,
I think Hollywood Brown's the number 2 receiver in this league.
I think he's the number 1. I think he is a true number 1. We saw this happen, and I don't want to get into Arizona football, but hell, I made this bold prediction before the season that Hollywood Brown was going to lead the NFL in targets, and he was on pace to do that. I think he was 3rd in targets before he got hurt. He is a number 1 receiver. It's just you guys, you people that don't want to believe in him, label him as a wide receiver too because of his size. That's not fair. In this day and the age of the NFL where you can't get hit, he's the number 1 receiver.
Size is never an issue for me because I will tell you Tyreek and Jalen Waddle both are number 1 receivers in this league.
And Hollywood Brown belongs not in that category. They're not up there with Tyreek. He's not up there with Tyreek and Waddle, like skill-wise, but scheme-wise, if you get him a quarterback that gets him the ball in an open space, we saw it with Kyler, we saw it with Lamar the year. Hell, Tyler Huntley was making Hollywood Brown relevant. But okay, let's get back to Lamar. You're right. He doesn't have receivers. Bateman's on IR. Andrews has been dinged up. They're throwing it to Deshaun Jackson. I think he's like 45 years old at this point.
Yeah.
They're throwing it to DeMarcus, Duvernay, who can't catch a fucking ball. You got over here DeMarcus Robinson from the Chiefs. This bum over here. But look at Jacksonville. Their leading receiver was Zay Jones.
I'm just waiting. I love Zay Jones coming out. I'm just waiting for him just to have that. So you remember what game was it? Who did Dallas play recently? Oh, Green Bay. And they were talking about how the rookie, all he needs is confidence. I hope that's all Zay Jones needs is a little bit of confidence because the guy could be electric.
He
was electric in college.
He had
10
14
catches
targets.
for like 200. Yeah.
I'm talking about last week against the Ravens. I think he had 14 targets for 145 yards. Unbelievable. But Lawrence's second leading receiver was the backup running back, Hasty. And people were trying to argue with me today on Twitter about how Lamar doesn't have Dobbins. Lamar doesn't have this. Lamar doesn't have that. Trevor Lawrence lost ETN in like the second quarter.
ETN sucks.
ETN has been, I don't care what you say about ETN, because I know you don't like ETN, but this season, when James Robinson got traded, ETN has been fire. I don't care what you say about him. You can't argue the numbers and you can't argue the production. ETN has been the heartbeat of that team along with Trevor Lawrence, and them losing ETN early in that game.
Yeah, obviously isn't the heartbeat if Hasty
did not
and just look dynamic as can be.
Do not compare the two because Hasty did not look dynamic like ETN. Stop it.
What?
Stop. He did not look like ETN. Stop it.
Stop it. Did we watch the same game?
Oh yeah, we watched the same game. It's just you have these stupid beer goggles on, drinking your little Edmonds Owns, whatever you're drinking on over there, thinking you just hate Trevor Lawrence and you hate ETN.
I don't hate Trevor Lawrence. I said I would take Trevor Lawrence over Tua.
I'm not saying which one I would take on this network. I'm not saying which one I would take on this network, but I'll just say this. I'll take 16. So with that being said, the projection of Lawrence going into next season, I have high hopes.
I think it's
for him.
up. Yeah.
I feel like if they get him a dominant number, we've seen this happen with Josh Allen. They get him Diggs. Guess what happens? He turns into a monster. You get Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. Guess what? He turns into a monster. There's not many Mahomes out there that can do it with nobody. You know, Rodgers used to be that guy. He's just not anymore. I don't think Lawrence is that good to do it with nobody. If they get him a dominant receiver in the offseason, I don't know if it's going to come out of the draft. I don't know if it's going to come through free agency or trade.
What do you think happens real quick with DeAndre Hopkins? Do you think he could be traded?
I don't know his contract status off the top of my head.
But
I
let's
don't
just say
know
it's tradable. Let's say it's tradable.
if it's
Do you think
tradable.
with what people are getting for receivers and what they got for what they gave up for him, do you think they could move him and try and upgrade? Not
Of course,
upgrade, but
they can move him. I mean, anyone's tradable. Wayne Gretzky got traded.
do you
You
think it's
know.
in their best interest to move
Oh,
on from DeAndre Hopkins?
it sure is because they have Rondell Moore out there. This team is going to be built for Kyler to succeed if Kyler wants to succeed. But I do see them trading Hopkins. I don't see to who or who would buy that contract. Jacksonville's got all this money tied up in Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. It's
I'm
going to
not
be
saying
hard.
it's going to be there. I'm just
No,
very
I know.
curious.
There is a market out there for him. We just saw Calvin Ridley get traded, and he's like an aging receiver that's off of a suspension. It can happen, especially how well Hopkins is played right now. Hopkins is the best receiver in football right now. I don't know if you guys are watching any kind of football, but Hopkins is unstoppable at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah, of course he's tradable. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it does, honestly, because I'd like to see him somewhere else, and I want to see Hollywood Brown as the number one there. So I hope
He's
it
got a
happens.
potential out in his contract in 2023. So,
Where would you want? Where would you want him to go?
um, like as a football fan, I would love to see him go to the Chiefs. I'd love to see him go to Green Bay. Um, I'd love to see him go to the Chargers. I think that would be a fun because you're going to be losing a receiver here shortly, most likely. And I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I'd love to see him in Dallas, but
Yeah. See, I mean, just the top of my head,
And-
who?
I'd love to see him in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
If Lamar is there, and I think I think that offense and that offensive coordinator is ruining Lamar Jackson. The amount of non-play action, non-RPOs that they throw is just ignorant. Like the amount of times they just drop back. Why are you not using the threat of his legs with a play action or an RPO? And I would love to see, and I would hate to see it at the same time. I would love to see Lamar end up in New York with the Giants.
I would hate that.
Yeah.
I would hate that for a couple of reasons, but I feel like
It would be a great connection.
if you package a Hopkins over there with him too, because they have no receivers, I want to see Lamar with a freaking receiving core that is.
I know, but that coach can do wonders. And
Of course,
build an offense around Lamar, and it'd be great for him.
I doubted Dayball when he came to the New York Giants. I even said I even looked at their numbers, and he never produced a top 5 offense or top whatever offense until he met Josh Allen. Thought it was another Adam Gase situation. I don't know if Adam Gase is safe over here to say on the Finstock Network, but I will say this: Dayball has surprised me and impressed me, and if they can just get Daniel Jones some freaking help, I think Daniel Jones could be a serviceable.
Daniel Jones.
I listen. You got to move on. I understand that. I definitely understand that, but I do see the potential. I just don't see it with that
as
offense.
a mediocre starting quarterback.
Yeah, but here's the thing: there's a lot of mediocre starting quarterbacks out there. Look at the Jets. Look around the league. Half of them are
like, if I'm a GM, I'm not settling and giving a big contract to mediocre, which a lot of GMs do, and I can't do that.
Look at Kyler. He got a big contract.
And
he's
that's
mediocre
my thing
eyes.
on Tua. Like, not to bring it up, but that's my thing on Tua. I'm not giving Tua the big contract. I'm trying to find someone better.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that.
That's my opinion on Tua.
I agree with that. I don't want to give Tua the big contract either, because I think he's too dependent on the weapons around him.
Yep.
And I think he's too dependent on the situation rather than his true talent. Although I do believe in Tua. I think he's a winner in this league. I just don't want to give him the big money because he's not going to.
I'd rather find out what I can get for him as he's doing well, because he's doing very well this season. I'm not going to take that away from him. He's playing very, very well.
MVP candidate, yes.
But if I'm a GM, I'm trying to flip him rather than sign him long term, because I don't see the future with him, and that's where I see Tua. But it's going to be very interesting, because early on when we first came onto the network, I said I want to see how Tua and the Dolphins do when everything's not perfect, because a lot of things have gone perfect for Miami this season. They don't have their left tackle, Teron Armstead. He's out for a couple weeks, if not longer. I'm very curious how they play without that.
I definitely agree. I have no comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens with adversity. We've seen adversity with Tua before, getting benched by Ryan Fitzpatrick and all that stuff. He didn't really respond well, in my opinion. I don't think he responded well to that. But this season, he's getting along with the head coach. You know, I saw a clip today. I know we're running late. We're about to log off here, but I saw a clip today where McDaniels was talking to Tua about his high school days, about how his technique was trash. And they were just laughing about it on the sideline. And I'm like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see with my head coach and my quarterback, where you see over here in Tampa, where you see Bruce Arians, last year, Bruce Arians and Tom like wanting to kill each other. And you don't want to see, you see certain like Rodgers and LaFleur over there, Kyler Murray. I don't want to see tension between my quarterback and my head coach. And I feel like with Tua and his head coach, I think they're friends or they're friendly. And they're going to get along, and that's what you want in the long term. You want cohesiveness with your quarterback and your head coach, and that's very important. These teams with tension are falling apart.
I agree, and that's
why it was important why Brian Flores.
Yeah.
That's why important that Brian Flores was out of here. That's why it's important to get him out of here,
because Flores didn't believe in him. Yeah, I get
exactly.
that. But make sure you like and subscribe us, Mugs and Balls on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Fins Talk Network, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And there's also a jersey giveaway going on with the Fins Sports Network, Fins Talk Sports Network. 500 subscriber, it's a giveaway jersey. I believe, if I'm correct, that you can pick your jersey.
So if I'm 500, or if someone's 500,
I don't know. I'll have to clarify that for next week. I don't know if it's the 500th subscriber, because that's what it says, or when we get to 500, we're giving one away to one of our
Because I'll tell you what. If we get to $4.99, I'm unsubscribing.
I'm unsubscribing, and I'm waiting for $4.99, and I'm subscribing again.
Okay. Everyone subscribe. Thank you for watching.
What do you got for us?
As the man once said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.